So if you're okay with it, I'd like to kind of walk through the example of your father and the tool that you built and how it might have changed things, if you would. I think that's a powerful story and has a bunch of implications that I'll dive into with you after that.
So this is a picture of my dad when we found out that he had uh, um, cancer and it spread to his liver and his lung. And it probably had spread to other places in his body that we weren't aware of. The challenge was that he appeared to us to be healthy. So for instance, the morning he was diagnosed with cancer, he jogged 5 miles. He was functioning fine at work. He was looked good. And so the problem that we had was, how can he be so sick? And he was really more frail than we knew. He was probably experiencing symptoms that he wasn't sharing with us. And if you could see clearly in this picture, he had a yellow appearance already in his eyes, representing some issues going on with his liver. But with that being said, we wanted to do something. Surely there was something that we could do medically to cure this illness or at least prolong his life. But that was the starting point that we had on looking at treatment options for my dad. Now, what we didn't have is information on patient outcomes specific to him, meaning that patients were that were his age, with his level of comorbidity and with cancer that already spread. And that had been very helpful for us to level set our understanding, because if you would have asked us, we'd have said, well, potentially he could be treated for cure. Well, that really wasn't even on the table. We didn't understand that fully, and we in large part heard what we wanted to hear. And if we didn't hear what we wanted to hear from a certain physician, we would just go to a different physician where we heard more of what we wanted to hear, and then we would seek treatment from that physician. So that's a common issue that physicians have to deal with patients is expectations. So, and also there have been many studies performed that show that very low percentages of patients, less than 5% of patients can accurately describe their prognosis even after meeting with physicians. And it really isn't the physician's fault. It's the patients hearing what they want to hear. It's it's as you go through treatment, you might hear something from your physician says your tumor's responding to treatment. Therefore, the patient hears they're getting better, that what the physician's saying is, I'm buying you time. And so all of these things intertwine with clinical literacy issues, patient misunderstanding, and also unrealistic expectations combined that drive the push towards more treatment must be better. And in my dad's case is a good example where it wasn't better. And I'll move to an output of our models on my dad's case. So what we're looking at here is a chart that shows the probability or likelihood of a patient surviving over 5 years, which is on the horizontal axis in 0 to 5. And then probability of survival, which is in the vertical axis, and you can see 100% survival at the top, 0 at the bottom. And stretching it out to the 5-year estimates, in the general population, a person like my father, 69-year-old white male, would have had about a 90% chance of living 5 years. But with the cancer diagnosis that he had, which is the highlight here, doing nothing, he had about a 40% chance of living 5 years.
Okay, so just pause on that for 1 second, if you would. So you said a couple of things that were gating attributes that are important in the protocol on that efficacy analysis, right? Which is your dad was 69 years old, so age is an attribute. He is a white guy, a white person. That's an attribute, and he's a male, which is another attribute. So 69-year-old white male are 3 attributes that drive clinical outcomes. Is that right?
Correct. And in my dad, and there's another attribute, his overall health. He had, in my dad's case, he had mild comorbidity. He had controlled AFib, he had high blood pressure, and kidney issues in the past. So if you take those into account, he had overall good health, but like many 69-year-olds, he had some other health issues still. So another important attribute to take into account.
Very good. And so what you found is that if you had no treatment, his probability of survival of 5 years, in other words, the chance he would make it and live for another 5 years was 40.6%.
Correct.
And then if he did other things, what happened?
And in my dad's case, which I want to first of all call this out, this is an unusual case. This is an anomaly, but still occurs. In my dad's case, the addition of treatment didn't help his survival. And when we did analysis of patients similar to him that received each one of these treatment modalities, we actually see a worse prospect of survival. And it's very counterintuitive. It's relatively uncommon, but what we've seen here would be very valuable information for us, because then we could go into the physician and have a better baseline understanding that, wow, why is this that his outcomes are so poor and his prognosis is so poor? Well, because he's a metastatic, the cancer is spread, and it spread to his liver and his lung. And so if we added additional treatments, each of these is going to have effect on all the systems. So there's a logical answer to why this is the case, but there's also an emotional component to processing this and understanding that he's a terminal patient, and there is no way that my dad, if you asked me at the time, no, he's healthy, we're going to beat this. That was the sentiment that we carried, even though it was unrealistic. So the ability for outcomes of similar patients that are in large part irrefutable, this is the experience that they had with these different treatment choices, would level set and help us look back and say, we have to accept some of the realities of what we're dealing with, and here are the options that we have based upon the realities that we're dealing with, and we need to make a choice. And the choice may not always be doing more, but in many cases the choice is doing more. So I want to draw that out, that in some patients we see treatment as being incredibly helpful. Otherwise we wouldn't see patients being treated as they do. But it's important to know when you're going in what your expectations are. And it's much different for an early stage prostate cancer patient than in my dad's case, where the cancer had already spread. And in fact, truthfully, there are two different groups of patients when you look at their outcomes.